Why is modern America so obsessed with horror? Many TV shows and movies containing suspense and horrific content can be attributed to Edgar Allan Poe.
The beauty of Edgar Allan Poe is that his literature sparked a mad following in the pop culture and basically changed American storytelling. The modern murder mystery, suspenseful movies, and horrific TV shows all basically stem from him.
Who was Edgar Allan Poe? Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts, January 19, 1809. He had two siblings, a brother named Henry and a sister named Rosalie. His parents had separated and his mother took him and his siblings. She died in 1811 when Poe was just 2 years old, making him an orphan. He studied French and Latin at the University of Virginia and flunked out after becoming a drunk and running out of money. He joined the army in 1827 and eventually obtained the rank of sergeant major. It was his time in the military when he established his writing career. His first set of poems went unnoticed, but his second collection received more attention after he released it in 1829. One of the weirdest things about Edgar Allan Poe is that he married his cousin when she was 13 and he was 20. After his parents died, Poe lived with John Allan in Richmond, Virginia, who never legally adopted him. After Allan passed away, Poe moved in with his aunt and 12-year-old cousin, who he married a year later in 1836, and the three moved back to Richmond after Poe started to earn a more steady living as an editor and critic. His wife died of tuberculosis when she was 24. Poe said, "The death of a beautiful woman is unquestionably the most poetic topic in the world."
What did Poe do for English? Poe manipulated language to revolve around art, rather than commentary, and as other Romanticists did, his work centered around emotion, and specifically what Poe considered to be the emotions of human beauty. Poe's contributions to the English world vastly exceeded just an interest in Gothic literature, but he utilized the emotions of terror, passion, and horror to write about. And his works of horror were his most popular. As he first began his writing career, his poems often went unnoticed, and it wasn't until his release of The Raven in 1845 that he truly gained a reputation. A key reason to include Poe in our syllabus is to analyze how he played with the human emotions in an extremely innovative way for his time. He was a consequence of the movements happening around him, and he etched his legacy in stone as he designed an entirely new genre. He is a major contributor to the creation of the short story as we know it, and cemented a style of writing focused on art and imagination, and critiqued his peers for not doing so accordingly. His suspense was addicting because it was a work of pure art and dark emotion, rather than the political commentaries which ruled his time. This type of literary manipulation was extremely unique and allowed the public to unlock a need for this type of emotional connection. His gateway into dark content and fascination with suspense inspired many others. One person who was extremely influenced by Edgar Allan Poe was Alfred Hitchcock, who directed Psycho, the movie from 1960, which opened up this video.
One of the major events that could have attributed to the dark themes in Edgar Allan Poe's work is the death of both of his parents and the untimely death of his young wife.
We see that because in his poems like The Raven, he talks about the death of his lover, Lenore. One of the most mysterious parts about Edgar Allan Poe was his untimely death. Poe's death revealed psychological challenges that could have contributed to his unique imagination and obsession with terror. There are two theories to his death. It's speculated that Poe suffered from hallucinations which aided to his work, and a week before he died, he disappeared for 4 days. When he was found again, he was passed out in the street, wearing someone else's clothes, and with no recollection of what happened. He passed away in the hospital very shortly after. Similar cases like this are linked to dissociative fugue, where the person unknowingly enters another consciousness and carries out tasks. This could explain why he was so fascinated with horror and suspense and why so many people thought he was psychologically disturbed. Another theory is that he was a part of a political couping, where you are kidnapped, redressed, and forced to repeatedly vote for a particular politician. It was a very violent crime and often involved drugging the coupee. If this is the case, Poe's themes of paranoia would be justified.
The most obvious theme in Alone, written in 1845, is loneliness. The narrator felt alone since childhood and continues to experience these feelings. The speaker feels alone because his emotions are unlike everyone around him. The poem ends with the narrator experiencing a sense of doom seen in the vision of a demon. In the midst of writing The Raven in 1845, Poe's wife, Virginia, was gravely ill, suffering from tuberculosis. The Raven is a poem that expresses great loss of a loved one after losing many already. It is believed that Poe wrote this poem envisioning a parrot and later switched to an owl and ultimately settled on a raven. Annabel Lee, written in 1849, was the last piece of poetry Poe wrote before his strange death. It is believed that Poe wrote Annabel Lee about his late wife. The most present theme in this poem is love, which can be seen in the relationship between the narrator and Annabel Lee. The Telltale Heart was written in 1850 and tells a story about a man who murdered another pale, blue-eyed older gentleman. After killing the man, he dismembers his body and hides it in the floorboards. Police come to investigate, and the narrator remains unsuspicious. After thinking he can hear the dead man's beating heart in the floorboards, he panics and confesses to the murder. The theme of a guilty conscience leading to the decline into insanity is a pretty obvious theme here.
Poe's importance as a major figure in literature can be contributed to his ingenious and philosophical poems, short stories, and critical theories. His works created a popular basis in which many authors today use when writing poetry and short fiction. Poe believed that poetry needed to arouse a sense of beauty for the reader. He personally associated with feelings of sadness, loss, and strangeness, and in many of his works he tried to evoke horror, suspense, and passion. Some of his most renowned works are written from a first-person point of view, the most popular being The Telltale Heart.
His contribution to the world of horror is what makes him so famous.
And that is why we think Edgar Allan Poe should be on the class syllabus.